Hi, it's Sarah Berry here from stampwithsarah.co.uk. Thanks for watching my video today. I'm using the Big On Birthday stamp set today, and I'm using the really big Happy Birthday stamp. Now it is really quite large, and I was quite surprised actually when I received it. It's got a lovely floral detail over the top on the right hand side, and this stamp set is only available in a photopolymer type. Now I'm using clear block E today because it just fits quite nicely on that one. Now I'm going to be adding colour to my stamps using a couple of ways. This is the Elegant Eggplant ink pad, and I just want to add colour to the Happy Birthday. I know I will touch the flowers a little bit, and I have done here, but I can easily wipe that away. I'm just looking at the block again, and I can see that I just need to add a little bit more colour at the top of those words. Now I've grabbed some tissue paper, some kitchen towel, and I'm just wiping away the ink that I've just caught on those flowers in the leaves, because I'm now going to add colour using my marker pens. And just making sure I get every little bit off. Now I'm using marker pens from two different packs. The first one is the Perfect Plum and the Garden Green from the REGALS Stamp and Write markers. And then the third colour is Cucumber Crush, which is from the 2015-2017 in colours. Now if you want those particular in colours, you need to get those before mid-April of 2017 because they will be disappearing very soon. So I've chosen Perfect Plum for the flowers just because it's a lighter purple shade, and it'll be quite a nice complement to the Happy Birthday ink colour. And I've also used two different types of green here because I just want to bring those leaves to life a little bit, not have them quite as flat in one colour of green. Oh, and I also used Night of Navy, which is a pen from the REGALS collection as well. So there's three pens here from the REGALS collection, and the Cucumber Crush is from the 2015-2017 in colours. So that's all done, and because it's been on the block a little while, I've just taken it back and I've huffed on it just to wake the ink up a little bit. Now you can see that I'm holding the stamp down onto the paper quite firmly and for quite a while, just to let that ink go into the paper. And that's it. That's the Happy Birthday coloured in and inked up as I would expect you to do, really. Now I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm inking it up again in exactly the same way, and just making sure I wipe off the ink off the flowers again. I'm using the same colours just so you can see the different way I'm going to do this. Okay, and then I'm going back in with my marker pens just as before. The more you do this, the more familiar you get with the position of the stamp and where all the flowers are and the leaves are, and then there's little tiny buds which I'm doing in the Night of Navy colour, and they are all dotted around. Now when I'm doing this, I'm making sure I'm using the side of my marker pen. It's a brush tip, and I don't want to bend the nib tool or the tip because it's quite a firm tip, but you want to just use the side of the pen. So again, in a minute you'll see I take it off the screen and huff on it just to wake the ink up, and it's going straight back down onto the cardstock. This cardstock is Whisper White. Okay, so now I'm going to add some more flowers. There's another stamp in the stamp set which is a long co collection of flowers. And I'm putting it onto block I this time, which is a longer block. I'm not sure if I could have got away with block H, but this is the one that I had to hand, and I like to put it on a slightly bigger block if necessary. So I'm taking the marker pens again, using the same colours, and I'm going into the stamp with the colour. You can see I've just pulled across the stamp set here, just so I can see the picture of the flowers, because I'm not that familiar with where all the little buds are. And then when I'm finished, I will again half on the block just to wake the ink up. And I'm just playing about with the position of the stamp here. I wasn't sure where was best. It is designed to go across the top like this, but I was wondering if I could fit anything underneath. So firstly I stamp over the top, and so this is how you will find it in the Spring Summer catalogue or the Occasions catalogue. That's how it's been designed. Isn't it pretty? So I'm going to go back into the stamp now, adding more colour exactly in the same way as before, and then just continue to fill up this this piece of paper with the flowers and the leaves. Isn't it pretty? I love the way the flowers of the buds and the leaves there just fold underneath that Y of in birthday. Now you can see I've not quite inked. I've forgotten to colour in the one of the leaves on that stamp there, so I've just used the other end of my marker pen, which is a small fine line pen, and just drawn it in myself, and I think I've got away with it. I'm not sure that you can actually tell. So that's a tip. So if you ever don't quite stamp something or ink it up correctly, you can always, rather than start again, you can just use your marker pen and go over the top. I'm just filling in some more space, and this is, you can see I've just stamped this onto the grid paper, but it's a second generation, so it's a lighter shade that I've just stamped onto the paper there. And then just a couple more flowers now and leaves. I'm just doing one section of the stamp. I'm not going to do all of it because I only want a small section in the corners here. You can see it, this video hasn't been sped up. I'm getting quicker at colouring in the stamp because I'm familiar with where everything is. So again, you can see that I play about with the position and turn it round. And then I've just got one more. And that just sits over the edge there. Isn't it lovely? So now I've found out some cardstock in the coordinating colour to the happy birthday, which is Elegant Eggplant. And I like that I can have my card at a different angle. I like that the happy birthday is more of a landscape stamp, so my cards are going to open from right to left. Now I'm playing about with some Versamark now, which means I'm going to be doing some heat embossing. Now every time I use my Versamark, I re-ink it because the lids on the Versamark aren't as tight as the Stampin' Up ink pads, so I always just give it a fresh coat of Versamark ink, sorry, and then I just use my bone folder to flatten and smooth the ink out, and don't forget to wipe the excess off the kitchen paper. So now that's ready to go. I know that's nice and juicy and fresh. Go back and forth on the stamp there with a couple of layers of the Versamark ink just to make sure I've got every little detail. Now you can see how my card opens there, it just popped up and down, and I want to stamp this around the edge on two sides. That mat there, that's a silicone mat. That's a heat proof mat which I like to go over and do my heat embossing over the top, so it protects my grid paper and also my desk most importantly. Both of those items, the grid paper and the silicone mat, are available from Stampin' Up. And there you go, so that's the edge all done, and now it's ready to do the heat embossing. And I've got some clear embossing powder here. It looks white but it is clear, and I'm just grabbing a piece of scrap paper which I folded in half so I can sprinkle the embossing powder over that, and the scrap paper will catch the embossing powder. Make sure you have a generous coat of embossing powder and then tap it off. Now I use a baby spoon to sprinkle my embossing powder over the top. It's just some spoons that I've kept from when my boys were little. You can buy them from any store, and I just find them useful rather than using a metal spoon or like a medicine spoon, let's say. I like that you've got a long reach handle, and the shape of the spoon isn't too big, or it's just right for embossing powder. So if next time you're in the stores, get yourself a pack of baby spoons. They'll be good for your embossing. So I've just lost, I can't find my Stampin' Up heat gun, so luckily I had this one lying around. And after I've heat embossed, I like to lay it flat down and just let it cool for a couple of seconds so I don't get like a crumpled, like a warping on my card. So that's the two done. They're exactly the same, just one's across the top and down the side, and one's across the bottom and up the side. So I've turned my card over just so I can have a rough idea of how much I want to cut off with my Stampin' Up trimmer. And I worked out that to be about half an inch or or a centimetre, thereabouts. And then I used the cut off piece just to give me a guide, so I cut off the same amount. I've not really measured, it's all by eye. That's that one ready to go down, to be stuck down. And then the next one I do the same, so exactly the same thing. I cut off a bit. Now in fact on this one I didn't want to cut too much of the flower off, so the position of the stamps was okay. Now looking at the cards halfway through, I thought that it did need something else, so I grabbed some pattern paper, and this is some Neutrals pattern paper in a grey, it's a smoky slate colour from the paper stack that we do in the Neutrals colours. And I'm just sticking my stamped image straight over the top of my paper, and I'm just lining it up so I know how much I need to cut off. Then what I do is I take this back onto my trimmer once I've stuck it down and just cut a border. Rather than cut it out first, I like to stick it down and then cut the border because I've got a straight level. So I'm leaving, I actually changed my mind. I cut off that amount, I'd say about half an inch. And then it's just off the screen here. I actually use the level, the line at the bottom, to get my card straight, because there is actually a ruler at that side of the trimmer as well. Now looking at the card, I think, well actually that's too much paper, so I take it back onto the trimmer and cut the paper, the pattern paper, in half. So that's those two done now. They just need sticking onto the card. This is fast fuse, and I absolutely love fast fuse. It's strong, it's easy, it is stringy, it is very tacky, but you just need to make sure you're pulling it back and flicking off to the side, and then you shouldn't have any problems with it. This one's a bit plainer, and again it's stuck down. So looking at them, I thought, no, it still needs something else. Even though it's got the clear embossing on it and the pattern paper, I just thought it needed a bit of sparkle. So these are our rhinestone jewels from Stampin' Up, and we have there's 50 of the small stones, 50 medium and 50 of the large, and then you've got 3 strips of small stones that are all joined together. So I'm using my paper piercing tool to pick up the gems and stick them directly onto the middle of the larger flowers. So I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 8. I use 8 on this card because I thought all of the large ones could do with having a gem in the centre. And then going over onto the plain card, I thought it would be really nice to use one of the long strips of rhinestones. I don't really tend to use these quite as much as the individual ones, and I thought that the width, the length of the birthday stamp just suited one of these strips really well. So I'm just using my paper piercing tool just to help me line it up straight. And then I do just make it a little bit wonky at the last 2 when I pulled it off, but I just push that back down. They are quite forgiving, but once they are stuck down, you know they're not going to come off. And then lastly, I just add 3 more of the rhinestones into the centre of these flowers. And that really completes the cards today. I love that I've been able to use the same stamp in a couple of different ways, and there's a couple of cards for everybody to suit every taste. So which one do you like? I'd love you to let me know. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope that you subscribe to my YouTube channel to see more videos like this one. You can find everything at stampwithsarah.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.